over 15 new minutes of in-game footage, 2 brand new trailers, and some absolutely crazy Rehydrated Relief announcements. We cover it all in today's episode of The Rehydrated Show, a one-stop shop for all things rehydrated. Here's your host, RidersDX. Woo! What up, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rehydrated Show. I don't really have like a funny joke to open the show up with because, truth be told, it is actually literally 2 o'clock in the morning. I am terrible at planning these things, but I'm gonna get this done no matter what. We're gonna do this, so let's go ahead and get into the show. So we got quite a few things packed today, and we got our typical news roundup. We also got a whole bunch of Rehydrated Relief announcements. Like, I'm so excited, guys. I really can't wait to get into this stuff. And also we got a couple new trailers to talk about, and we also got a lot of footage from Gamestar, who did an interview with Martin Crouch, and also as a result released a whole bunch of gameplay footage that I need to analyze. And last but not least, I've got a discussion with Who Needs Normal about the cut content in this game and how THQ Nordic and Purple Lamp Studios decided to implement it into the game. So lots to cover in this show. Let's go ahead and head right into it. Here's a list of timestamps if you want to just jump to your favorite section, but let's go ahead and jump right into the news roundup. So of course the first thing we gotta talk about is THQ Nordic's weekly Monday motivational quote. This week's quote was, "You were born to make a splash," and that was just really sweet actually. It fit perfectly obviously, and it made me feel good actually. It made me feel like I could take on this week, and I actually got a lot done this week, just not this show. The second thing is, this is a really huge deal actually, and I was so shocked when we saw it. Apparently Rehydrated was the cover story of a monthly Walmart gaming magazine, so huge shout out to Mike Toons for uploading this and tagging me in it. I think otherwise we didn't get scans from anyone else, so he was the one that was able to break this news, so thank you so much, Mike. But as you can see over here, Rehydrated indeed was the cover story of this magazine, and we got a few different screenshots in it of Horde mode, and so you can see a closer shot of Squidward and Robot Squidward, and you also get this nice little picture of the Shock Patrick meme from the movie. Like, it just looks really awesome. Now, I read through the article and there wasn't really that much new information. However, there was one line, literally one line, that I was like, that's kind of interesting. So this one line says that when Patrick is holding a throw fruit, he can apparently what you call strafe during it. And so I looked at the definition of strafe, and the literal definition on Google says attack repeatedly with bombs or machine gun fire from low-flying aircraft. And so I don't think that's what exactly they mean Patrick is doing, but I think it more so means that like Patrick can somehow attack while he's holding throw fruit. I'm not really sure. I'll leave a link in the description box below to the Twitter post so that you can see the scans for yourself and read the quote, and you all let me know what you think that quote means, because I'm a little bit confused by it and I've definitely not seen anything like that in the footage so far. Another news item that we got is that Gamestar hosted an interview with Martin Crouch about the game. Unfortunately, the interview was in German, but there was a translation which I'll leave in the description box below. There wasn't really that much new information that was revealed in there, to be honest, and so I'm not really going to cover that. However, we got to see a whole bunch of new footage. So we got to see Kelp Forest, downtown Bikini Bottom, Goo Lagoon, and the Industrial Park boss. And so I'm going to go ahead and analyze that in the later part of the video, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But it's by far my most bullet points I've ever had for a video, so it's going to be quite a ride. We also got 2 new trailers from THQ Nordic as well, and so this definitely was a crazy week in terms of Rehydrated content. The first one we got was what I am assuming is the first of a few robot trailers, and so this trailer showed off the Fodder, G-Love, Chuck, Bombot, and Bizbot, and it's a pretty cool trailer. I'm not going to analyze it because there really isn't that much to analyze here. I mean, I saw one snippet of like the Flying Dutchman's graveyard in there that we didn't see before, but other than that, there really wasn't that much, and I commented on all the robots and pretty much all my other analyses. But definitely check out the trailer. It's really cool. It's a nice short one and definitely is hyping us up for the game. But we got another trailer which I will be analyzing, which was the multiplayer Horde mode trailer. And so they showed off the Horde mode, and there was a whole bunch of new things in there that y'all hadn't seen before. So I made sure to make an analysis for that because woof, that was a hype trailer, definitely. And the last thing on the news roundup is that Tristan Bush let me know on Twitter that he found this section on the Nintendo website for this game that listed off some additional languages that I don't think we really knew about beforehand. I mean, I'm starting to think actually that it might have been on Steam, but I don't know. But apparently there are some more languages beyond the ones that we saw in the trailers that are supported, but I don't think they have voice lines. I think it's just subtitles. And so there's Chinese, Portuguese, Russian, and what's the last one? Korean. And so those languages will have subtitle support at least. And so that's just more ways for people to play the game. And I'm really excited to see other international fans really get into this game. And that is it for today's news roundup. Let me know what your favorite news item is, and definitely stay tuned for the analyses later on because they're really in depth. You know, you guys know me at this point. They're gonna be crazy in depth. But now I really want to get into the Rehydrated Relief because I've got a lot of things to tell you this week actually. Like half of the things I was planning, but half of the things I was not planning. And so first of all, since last week, we hit 2 milestones, which is insane. So the first one that we hit was the $500 milestone. And so that means Sheriff the Great is up to do a long play live stream of Creature from the Krusty Krab. And so he currently is scheduled to do that at 3 p.m. Eastern time this coming Tuesday on June 9th. I think that's when the Tuesday is. And so definitely check that out. I'll leave a link in the description box below so that you can go ahead and set a reminder for yourself to go ahead and check out the stream. We also passed a $750 milestone. And that means the Bikini Bottom-Tails trailer is out now. And so I have a link down there in the description box below, but I'm also going to show off a short minute of the trailer. But I definitely encourage you all to go on to No Life's channel and check out the entire thing because it's so much hype and it's going to really get you excited for their fan game because the fan game definitely looks like something really special. Now, what probably is like the biggest news item in terms of Rehydrated Relief, I am so happy and excited to announce that Shift is officially a part of the Relief. You don't believe me? I have this clip from one of Shift's recent streams where he announces it himself, so I'm gonna go ahead and play it.
So there's a YouTube community. If you guys don't know, there's another community for Battle for Bikini Bottom that's like starting to take form on YouTube. I would consider like RidersDX kind of like the head of it right now. It's like starting to kind of organize around this movement called the Rehydrated Relief. Riders organized a charity event in which we're going to restream people's gameplay and I guess like challenge runs and so forth to try and raise money for Doctors Without Borders. So that's what we're going to do very soon. I'm joining in with the Riders to help them with the event. Parrot, MV Parrot, and Square are going to help as well. We're trying to kind of unite the Twitch and the YouTube communities of this game together for the common cause. Because I think a lot of people over there aren't aware of what's going on here, and a lot of people here aren't aware of what's going on there. And, you know, there are some strengths and weaknesses as well. Like, we have the people over on Twitch are really experienced at streaming. Like, it's just natural to them to be able to use OBS and stuff. Over there, they're making much more polished videos, and people over here are just starting to get into learning how to make videos. So I think that us working together will be beneficial for everybody involved. Like, maybe some people will get more of some interaction, like some tips on how to make better videos, how to stream better, you know. We're combining our knowledge under the common cause of charity.
So this is absolutely insane. You know, I could have never imagined that Shift would want to be a part of this, and so I'm so glad that he reached out. It's like a dream come true, and I feel like this is an alternate dimension at this point. Like, this is definitely not real life. And so Shift is going to be a big part of the Relief, and we got so much stuff planned, guys. You know, this Relief is going to be the most amazing thing ever, and I can't believe it's less than a week away. Like, that's insane, and I don't feel like we're ready at all for it, but we're gonna do it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be an awesome way to celebrate Rehydrated Release before it comes out. You know, I hope you all are really looking forward to it. The last thing I want to mention before we close off Rehydrated Relief news is that I do have the schedule. It's nearly finalized. I'm just waiting to make sure that everyone gives me the okay on it, and then I plan to make a separate video in a couple of days going through the schedule item by item to tell you like who each person is, what game they're streaming, what to expect, and all that. And I do have a couple surprises for that video still. Y'all think that Shift was the only surprise? You know, there's a couple other things I cannot wait to review to you. Putting this together has been a dream come true, and I'm so happy that it's turning out the way that it is. It really is becoming a great way to unify the Battle for Bikini Bottom community, and so get excited, guys. I'm so pumped. You know, I feel like Mr. Krabs when he finds a penny on the ground. But that is it for the Rehydrated Relief news for now. So before we get into the next segment of the show, here is a short snippet of the Bikini Bottom Tails trailer.
This is a work-in-progress version of Bikini Bottom Tails. Everything here is subject to change. Time for a wonderful day of jellyfishing! I'm ready. Holy Neptune! My shoe's untied! Tie in my shoe. Tie in my shoe. Ah, that's better. Huh? I don't remember painting in here. Holy fish paste! Gary, did you do that? Meow.
Hello there, beautiful humans. So right now I've got the analysis for the Gamestar gameplay that we got earlier this week. Now I'm not going to paste the gameplay here like I typically would with the trailers because there's over 15 minutes of footage, and so I actually already uploaded it separately on my channel if you want to go check it out. Also, apparently by the time this episode comes out, there's supposed to be the full footage being released by the website with sound effects and everything, so if that's the case then I'll link that instead. But I have 32 bullet points for this analysis, so I am scared of how long this is gonna be. So let's go ahead and just dive into it. And number one, so these first few ones are gonna be focused on the Kelp Forest gameplay. And so the first thing I want to just put your attention to is just the overall lighting of Kelp Forest. Like, my gosh, it looks absolutely incredible. Like, it's actually possible to see things now. You know, the colors are just chosen in a way that the colors contrast a lot more. It still keeps that very lush jungle vibe that the original one had, but now things are visible and now it just looks gorgeous. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of like something taken straight out of Tarzan, and I'm just really into this. And number two, not only does the golden spatula glow as I mentioned in my previous analysis, but there's also its own yellow colored bubble around it. And so I guess it kind of follows the theme of all the other items being in bubbles and such. And so I'm okay with this. I think it looks cool. I think I'll always prefer how the original did it, where that glow was just so shiny and just so, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is like the holy grail of the game. But I'm okay with this, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do y'all like this change? Do y'all dislike this change? So let me know why or why not. The cutscene introducing the Tublet robot. Now, the fish's hat when he jumps goes all the way up in the air, which is a cool addition. Kind of just makes him seem a little bit more animated. There's also the fact that the flames coming out of the robot are now actual fiery flames, and that is so badass. It looks so cool. I kind of like how almost realistic the fire effects look, and so I'm really into this. And then there's a small new detail at the end of the cutscene where you can see the float of one of the robots after they've been crushed, and this was not apparent in the original game at all, and so that's a really cool addition. At number 4, when Spongebob jumps, he has a brand new animation where his arms are held close to his body, which makes him look more bouncy, and he also spins around a little bit as well, and it looks really cool. It makes him look like he's having so much fun, you know, and you know, that's the whole point of the game, you know, everyone's having tons of fun. At number 5, I just wanted to point out that the portal head looks absolutely amazing here, and just saying, but y'all have another asset for the movie game if you ever were to decide to remake it, or even just add levels as DLC, so come on THQ Nordic, you know what to do. At number 6, we also got to see some more of the ARF Robots animations here, and I love that he does like a peace sign when Spongebob gets hit. You know, it just adds a lot more personality to the robot, and this definitely has to be one of my favorite robot redesigns out of the entire game. The ARF Robot was done really well here. At number 7, we also got to see the BizBot in action for the first time, and you can tell they revamped how its lasers looks. I really enjoyed the new look. It looks a little bit more fluid, I guess, and I just enjoyed the animation more compared to the original, so I'm really liking this. At number 8, so y'all remember like those little cutscenes you get within the game that kind of show off like, oh, where it switches, for instance, or things like that. Well, now there is an option to skip them, and I don't think there was an option to skip them in the original, or maybe I just never tried to skip it before, and so I wouldn't know for sure. But now they have a button showing off that you can skip the cutscene, and so that'll be nice for like veteran players that already know what they're doing. So good addition. At number 9, when Spongebob does a cruise bubble, it's slightly longer here than it was in in the original, and so it kind of gives people like a couple more seconds to prepare to use it. And also I really like the animations here. He looks like he's really like dribbling almost like a bubble to use for the move, so I'm really liking it. And number 10, so this one actually kind of disappoints me a little bit, but Mrs. Puff doesn't look like she's on crack anymore. That's really disappointing. Like, her animation here just seems a little bit more normalized. Like, she's not bouncing up and down like she used to anymore. And yeah, I think that's disappointing. That was a really cool aspect to Mrs. Puff. And I actually remember watching this interview with Martin Crouch back at Gamescom, I'm pretty sure, where he had mentioned that someone had emailed the team saying that, like, please make sure Mrs. Puff bounces the way that she did in the original. And she is not really doing it here. So I don't know, maybe that was just something that was lost in translation, unfortunately. But hey, at least Mrs. Puff still has her iconic lines in the game, which I'm totally looking forward to hearing. The next 7 bullet points will be covering Goo Lagoon, and so the first thing I want to point out here is that we get to see some of Larry's speaking animation when you speak to him in a level, and so you can kind of see his arms are waving a little bit around here and there, and I like this, you know. In the original game, I think there was only one animation whenever you would talk to someone, but now the characters have multiple animations that they go through when they're speaking, and so that just adds a little bit more life to the game and such, and I'm really digging it. At number 12, this was so easy to miss, but as I was watching closely, like maybe the second or third time, like I saw this, Patrick's able to do his attack in mid-air now. So as you can see over here, Patrick is able to use that attack when he destroyed a Chuck robot, and that's really great actually, because that Chuck robot otherwise would be very difficult to destroy as Patrick. And so it's another example of how they're making these like slight alterations to the moveset to make them more aerobic and flexible, and I'm really liking it. You know, it's definitely going to make the game more fun to play when you have these extra nuances added to the moves. At number 13, when Patrick jumps just once and does his belly flop, he actually attacks with his butt now, which is a really awesome nod to the movie game if y'all didn't realize. And so I don't know if that's what they intended, but I think that was awesome. I know that they're at least aware of the movie game and are aware that a lot of people love that game as much as Battle for Bikini Bottom, and so I just thought that was so cool, and I can't wait to use that move. At number 14, really tiny detail, but the sun rays coming off of the lifeguard stands now are moving, and it looks so pretty, you know. It just makes me want to step in front of it, but that probably wouldn't be the best idea, so let's avoid that. At number 15, when Patrick does his full slam attack, he smiles a bit and then he pulls himself up from the attack. It's a very cute animation, it really helps to bring him to life. At number 16, this is really interesting, but when the Dro fruit is thrown and lands on the ground, it actually rolls back a little bit compared to the original where it just stood in one place, and it seems more realistic, and I'm interested in seeing if this impacts the gameplay in any way. It probably doesn't, but I do like it. At number 17, I commented before on how the towers just pop in and that it was a graphical bug. It turns out that this was actually an intentional effect, because in this footage, they pop in one by one. I'll have to look at the original and see if that's how it was done. I swear I don't remember that that's how it was done, but maybe it was. I mean, let me know in the comment section below if that is or not. I'll also look for the original footage and paste it here if I can find it. Next up is Downtown Bikini Bottom, and I have 10 more bullet points for this, guys. We're just kind of like flying through these. I just don't want to spend like hours here talking about everything. But the first thing I want to mention at number 18 is that Downtown Bikini Bottom just looks absolutely gorgeous. You know, it's another really well done level that I really enjoy the color scheme that they went with. You know, I enjoy most of the levels actually in terms of what colors they chose. I think there's only 1 or 2 here that I'm a little bit iffy about, but I'll refrain from commenting on them until we see much more footage from them. But Downtown Bikini Bottom, I think they absolutely nailed this. I love how all the different buildings are different colors, especially. It kind of just makes Downtown Bikini Bottom seem like this really diverse place, which it is. Like, you have all the Spongebob characters there, so it's definitely a really wild and diverse place. At number 19, when you switch to Sandy over here in this first section, you see that there's a boat right over there, and it just absolutely adds to the chaos that's going on in Downtown Bikini Bottom. I'm really liking that we're seeing these boats everywhere, because we have to collect the wheels from these boats, but we actually never see the boats in the original game, so that's just really cool. At number 20, is that a satellite on the building where Sandy can lasso the tikis? That's a pretty cool and interesting addition, so I don't think it's gonna have any impact gameplay wise, like I'd highly doubt it, but I just thought that was a really cool addition because that was not there in the original game at all. At number 21, when Sandy lassos a tiki, it shrinks in size a bit before getting destroyed, which was not an animation that we had in the original, and so I think that's just a cool little detail that they added. At number 22, I'm not sure if this was apparent in previous trailers or anything like that, but I just noticed that when you attack the Duplicatotron, it's set on fire a little bit before it gets destroyed. right. And so just another interesting visual detail that I really like. At number 23, we get to see Sandy's full animation when she gets a golden spatula, and I feel like there's still something a little bit off about it. Like, it just doesn't look that smooth, but I do like the second half of it a lot better when she's waving at the audience. Like, that looks really good, but the initial part where she's doing her karate chop I don't think looks as good. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do y'all agree with me or do y'all disagree with me? At number 24, when Sandy launches off a spring, she has a similar animation to Spongebob where she jumps on a spring and is spinning around, so I have a feeling Patrick will have something similar as well, and I cannot wait to see that. At number 25, I just want to bring your attention to these signs over here throughout the level, and so we got Coca-Cola sign, for instance. We also got a Bikini Bottom Motor Company one over here. I know the Coca-Cola one at least was in the original. I'm pretty sure it was. If I can find originals, I will show them side to side over here, and then we can kind of see how they differ. But I just wanted to make that note for myself. At number 26, we get to see the Hans animation for the first time here, and it doesn't look finished. Man, I wish I can remember what it looked like when I was at PAX East, but I remember when I saw it, I think I had a feeling that it wasn't really that finished either. And so I hope that this is just an older build and that the Hans animation actually fully works like it's supposed to in the original game, but I don't know. I do have a feeling that this build is more recent compared to the other ones, so I don't know, guys. I really hope they don't screw up the Hans animation, because that's one of the game's like biggest charms, and it definitely does not look finished here. At number 27, you can definitely tell that the Chuck robot has been nerfed over here. You can see that first of all, he takes a little bit longer to throw its rocket at you, and second of all, the rocket just goes at a slower pace compared to the original. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the Chuck robot did annoy me in the original game. Like, who didn't not annoy? Like, it definitely was one of the more challenging robots to destroy. But, you know, since I played the game so much, I've gotten used to how the Chuck robot acted, and I was able to maneuver around its attack just fine. So, I don't know. I'm a little bit mixed on how they nerfed the Chuck robot and a bunch of other robots here, but that's a discussion that I had in my previous episode of the Rehydrated Show with Zach Pack, and so if you want to go check out what we thought about that, then I'll leave a link in the description box below, and I also, if I remember, will put a link in the top right corner here. The next 5 bullet points will be for Industrial Park, and so the first thing I wanted to bring up here was that we got to see some of the cutscenes, and I'm just gonna be so interested in seeing the cutscenes in general, because after we saw that languages trailer and saw how the cutscenes can be changed so much just from facial expressions, I'm really interested in seeing what they did with all the other cutscenes, and so we got to see some snippets of it over here, and it looks really good in my opinion. I mean, some of the animations here and there I think could be spruced up a little bit, but overall I'm really liking the makeover that they gave over here, and Spongebob and Sandy look really well done in these cutscenes. At number 29, Robot Patrick does not wait as long in between his attacks anymore like he did in the original, and this is actually something I recall being a suggestion that Shift made way back when the game was first announced. And I definitely think that that was a good idea, as the boss itself could drag, same with the Poseidon boss with Robot Sandy, and so I'm definitely liking that change. At number 30, Robot Patrick has a few more animations that we get to see here that we hadn't seen before. Like, we get one animation where when he gets hurt, he kind of like puts his hand on his back and just looks like he's in pain, so I really do like that. He also has another animation when you get hurt, and he looks just as menacing there, and so I'm getting a little bit more used to how Robot Patrick looks. I know I was kind of mixed on how he looked before, but I'm starting to get used to how he looks now, and I'm enjoying it. At number 31, Robot Patrick's attacks just seem a little bit slower to me compared to the original. It might just be that his spinning animation comes off as slower, but I'm not sure that necessarily means a slower attack. What do you guys think? Do you think they nerfed the Robot Patrick, or do you think it's just because his animations look slower? Let me know why not in the comment section below. At number 32, Squidward's frozen corpse is now a fully 3D modeled figure inside the ice block. It doesn't look as disgusting as it did in the original, but I mean, it still looks really good and makes the game just look rehydrated, for lack of a better term. And that's actually everything that I had for this video. I thought I had so much more for some reason, but that's pretty much it. I tried to fly through these bullet points as fast as possible because obviously I could have spent forever talking about everything, but decided not to, just for the sake of the show. And so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Did you all enjoy this gameplay that we got from Gamestar? Did you all have some concerns? Let me know why not in the comment section. And yeah, thank you so much. Coming up on the show, we got an analysis of the multiplayer mode trailer that THQ Nordic released, and then after that, we've got an in-depth discussion with Who Needs Normal about how they are handling cut content within this game. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, my channel's name is Nightbane Games. My channel is about modding the game The Simpsons Hit and Run. And even though that game isn't SpongeBob, I am joining the Rehydrated Relief because I have a mod called Annoy Squidward that turns the entire game into a Spongebob story. I'll be playing through the entirety of level 1 and finishing it 100%. However, it's not a stream because my internet is prone to disconnecting. Enjoy the premiere!
Okay, so we've got a lot to talk about with this trailer because obviously a lot of this is brand new content and we've never seen it before as a result. And so I've got 10 bullet points. Let's dive into it. My first bullet point is talking about the very first island that we see where the ground is kind of like this metal plate gray texture, and there's even an island associated with this design that spins around. And so it tells me that we have a few different locations within the Horde mode, and that each one is going to have a few different islands associated with it that will be slightly different as we see throughout the trailer. And so that's looking really cool. Another one that we see in here that I don't think we saw in the previous trailer is this island with a wooden texture at the bottom of it, and there's also some green platforming boxes spread throughout the island as well. I think it'd actually be really cool if you could toss these around as extra projectiles, but I don't expect that to be a thing at all, and so it's just like an idea, like kind of pie in the sky thing. THQ Nordic and Purple Lamp Studios felt like working on random things that no one asked for. That's one of them that they could do. And number 3, we got another look at Robot Squidward here, and Robot Squidward just looks so badass, guys. I love the way he was recreated here. He looked just as badass at PAX East, although I will say when I saw him at PAX, he actually looked a lot darker in terms of his textures. I don't know, it might have been just the lighting on the video that I took, but Robot Squidward definitely had like a very dark color to him. In this one, he looks a little bit brighter, and you can actually see the textures on him a little bit better compared to what I saw at PAX East, and so I definitely think that this is looking really good compared to what I saw before. At number 4, we get to see Robot Plankton over here. First of all, I'm just so excited that Robot Plankton is playable in here. You know, I would have liked to see the actual Plankton here, but I think Robot Plankton is actually like the perfect choice because actually the only game where Robot Plankton would have a chance of being playable, and so I'm really glad that we get to play him. You can see that his main attack is just shooting those lasers. His slam attack is here as well, and it's just a basic motion of him slamming down, you know, nothing too special here, but it's still looking really good. I'm really excited. Number 5, this is probably one of the most exciting things, but I love what they did with Mr. Krabs here. I love that they gave him the swordfish. I know that I first learned about this when I interviewed Martin, and he had let me know that Mr. Krabs had a swordfish from One Krabs Trash, which was an iconic episode in itself. The only thing I will say of Mr. Krabs is that his walking animation looks a little bit weird to me. He kind of looks like he's floating as if he was like a ghost, and so I don't know if they're gonna work on that. I think it's something that I can't get used to with time, but it just did look a little bit strange to me. At number 6, this is something in terms of a mechanic with the Horde mode, but looks like when you're going from each island, there are transition segments in between where you're gonna be doing some platforming, as you can see here in this short snippet. And so I'm thinking that this is how we'll get from island to island, and depending on how you want to do your Horde mode, you probably can set the settings to determine how many islands you go to and all that. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what this mode is like, and I can't wait to play with all of you because I'll definitely be trying to do some live streams where I play with viewers. I'm not really sure how it's gonna work since there's only 2 people at a time, so it might get a little bit hectic, but you know what, I'm excited. I want to go to the trouble. We'll have to see how it goes. At number 7, the robots here have multiple hit points, as many of them turn red before getting destroyed. This was one of the very first things that I had noticed when I saw gameplay of the Horde mode at PAX East. I was like, oh, the robots have multiple hit points, and so that's gonna make it a little bit more challenging and a little bit more interesting, and I'm really glad for that. Destroying robots in Battle for Bikini Bottom was always really fun. Like, it just always felt very satisfying destroying all these robots. It never felt tedious in terms of the combat, and so I'm really interested in seeing if that gets translated well to the Horde mode. At number 8, this is probably the hugest thing here, but we get to see our first look at Robot Spongebob in the Horde mode. And so the Robot Spongebob here looks like he is decommissioned. You know, it looks like it was right after he was defeated in the Chum Bucket Lab. As you can see, his nose over here is even like angled down, and so he definitely does not look like he's an actual boss here. He looks like he's just an island that you'll be navigating around, destroying robots. And so I thought that was a little bit disappointing, to be honest. I would have loved to see Robot Spongebob, or Muscle Bob specifically, be a boss in here, similar to how Robot Squidward is. But I'm still glad that Robot Squidward is taking the spotlight here and being the main boss of the entire mode. And then nonetheless, it's really cool to see Robot Spongebob be represented here in his Muscle Bob form. At number 9, we get to see Squidward also, and Squidward has a double jump where he's kind of spinning around, and that looks really cool. And you also see him attack with his clarinet here, where he's basically shooting out projectiles even in mid-air. And so Squidward looks like he's gonna be a projectile character primarily, and that'll be interesting in terms of how you utilize that within Horde mode. At number 10, we get to see more of Patrick's dream incorporated here. You know, not the dream that we got in the actual game, but the cut dream. And so you can see like some of these like more candy infused environments, and it looks very sweet. Get it? Yeah, I had to do that at some point. But yeah, Patrick's cut dream over here looks pretty nice. I'm really liking all the different like candy infused items and textures that we're getting. It definitely is giving me a toothache, but in a good way. Number 11, we get to see Gary as well, and we get to see how he does his slam attack, which he does using those shoes that you saw in the episode where SpongeBob forgot how to tie his shoes. And so I think that's just such a cute reference. I'm so glad that we got that. He also attacks with a frying pan and does a somersault when he double jumps. And so Gary's looking very acrobatic in this game, you know, and he's also going very fast, obviously, since, well, if he was going at his normal speed, then he would just be a chore to play in this mode. So I think Gary is going to be a favorite to play in this game, actually. I have a feeling that Gary's going to be a lot of fun to play through. He might just be one of the tougher characters to play though, just because he is very small in stature, and so I can tell that it might be tough to keep track of where Gary is on the screen, but I'm just so glad that he's here regardless. And this is the last bullet point, and something that I'm not sure if a lot of people have pointed out or not. I mean, I haven't watched many analyses of this trailer yet, unfortunately. I usually do, but I didn't for this one. But we see these metal plates spotted throughout the trailer, and so I'm wondering if this is related to how they progress to the next island. That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing what the purpose of these metal plates are, because they don't seem like they're random objects that are there just for show. It looks like they have a purpose to them. And that is everything I have for my analysis. I think I said 10 in the beginning, but I actually ended up having 12, so there's me again not getting my numbers straight. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you guys excited for Horde mode? Are you guys concerned about it? Let me know why or why not. What's your favorite thing that you've seen so far, and what's your least favorite thing? I love to hear your thoughts, and just, yeah, thank you so much. Coming up on the show, we've got an in-depth discussion of Who Needs Normal on how THQ Nordic and Purple Lamp Studios approach cut content and Rehydrated. We've got a lot of different opinions, and so I definitely encourage you all to stick around and check that out.
What's going on? My name is Triforce Addiction, and what you guys need to know about me is I'm a pretty simple dude, you know, love Zelda, love SpongeBob games, you know, I love other, you know, just like Nintendo stuff. What I'm hoping to get out of this live stream is I'm hoping to get as much donations as possible, because, you know, we are almost at, I think at this point we're already at $500 or slightly less, and I'm just hoping we could hit our milestone of reaching 1,000 or even more. And, you know, doing all these pre-streams, you know, having $500 or $400 saved up or put it into this donation thing is like pretty amazing. So I can't imagine how much donations we're gonna get when the actual event kicks in. But like I said, guys, I'm excited and grateful to be a part of this event, and I hope to see you guys in my live stream. Thank you.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. So now we got our next portion of the show here, where I get to talk to one of the community members within YouTube, and the person that I have today is Who Needs Normal. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let him briefly introduce himself.
Hi guys, you probably don't know me. I'm a pretty small channel, but I mostly make documentary style stuff. I don't have a whole lot of videos, but you would know me from my video on the story of Big Sky Interactive and their game Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. And I'm currently working on a project with Riders and the rest of the Rehydrated people, doing a Creature from the Krusty Krab video in the same vein as the Revenge of the Flying Dutchman video, where I talk about like how the company came to be, and then go over the game, some trivia about it, different stuff like that.
I just gotta say, guys, that Who Needs Normal is like the real deal. Like, I just want to say that I watched your entire Revenge of the Flying Dutchman video, and I also saw the stuff that you got prepared for the Creature from the Krusty Krab video, and I gotta say that your investigational skills are amazing. You just have this way of being able to like dig up this info from a lot of people that people just wouldn't think of going to get this information. And so I definitely highly encourage you all to check out the Revenge of the Flying Dutchman video, and once the Creature from the Krusty Krab video gets released, then you definitely want to check that out too. You know, I actually plan on making a video myself about it, just because looking through it, there's a lot of great tidbits of information that I think any fan of Creature from the Krusty Krab is going to really enjoy. So I just gotta give you big props for putting that together.
It's some pretty interesting stuff, and thank you for saying that about my video. It's very flattering.
How do you feel about being a part of the Relief in general?
I'm pretty excited. I mean, it's a really cool opportunity to work with you guys. It's the first YouTube collaboration I've ever done. I've done some other stuff. I'm actually technically a gaming journalist with a website called Squad State. So I've done some stuff where I've worked with other people, but never quite like this. So it's definitely a cool experience, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
I'm so happy to hear that. And so we're going to go ahead and directly go into the main topic of this discussion, which is the cut content of Rehydrated and how it's being incorporated. And I thought Who Needs Normal would be a really good person to talk about this with, because he covers both cut content topics in his videos, both in Revenge of the Flying Dutchman and also in the Creature from the Krusty Krab video. We have seen some of the cut content already in place, like Robot Squidward is the big one. He is the main boss of Horde mode. We also have confirmation that Patrick's Dream is going to be one of the environments in Horde mode, and we also have seen other bits and pieces of confirmation here and there. Like, I remember from my interview with Martin Crouch, the producer about Bikini by Rehydrated, that he had said that Muscle Bob Steel Pants will also be making an appearance in Horde mode. And so I guess just to summarize, it looks like the ideology was to incorporate all the cut content through the use of the Horde mode rather than trying to inject it into the main campaign. I think the first place I want to start with in this discussion is, how do you feel about the way that they went about incorporating the cut content through the multiplayer mode?
Well, when I first heard they were adding cut content, I was really excited. The first time I found out the game was happening, I didn't actually believe it at first, but I thought it was like a fan mock-up or something, but no, it was real. And then I found out they were doing the cut content, and I thought that was probably the most exciting thing about the entire thing. I am a little concerned about the way they did it, I guess, just because initially they did not specify that they were putting it just in the multiplayer mode. They were very vague about that, I feel like, at first, and so I was expecting it to be in the single player mode. It's fine the way they did it, it's just I'm also not thrilled with the way the multiplayer mode looks, like the top-down perspective and everything. Like the Patrick's Dream aspect of it, like that was the most exciting thing to me, was being able to play Patrick's original dream, even if it meant losing the joke in his actual dream from the original. The Patrick's Dream part that we saw in the trailer just looked kind of boring to me, I guess. It didn't really, it had the aesthetic, but it didn't feel like Patrick's Dream. And it also doesn't make a ton of sense to me for Patrick's Dream to be a part of the multiplayer mode, because as far as I can tell, they're not supposed to be in a dream. At the end of the day, it's fine. I'm just slightly disappointed. Same with the Squidward boss. I think it's a good idea to have him be the overall boss of the multiplayer mode. I think that makes sense. But I also would have liked to have a version of that in the single player mode. I remember playing the game as a kid. Somehow I ended up getting enough shiny objects without cheating to get into the movie theater and seeing that and thinking that must be in the game somewhere, like I missed something, but no, he wasn't in there. I didn't understand the concept of concept art at that time. And so it was kind of cool to hear that that was happening, but it's not in quite the way I think anyone really imagined. But it's fine. I mean, it is what it is. And I'm still excited for it. And I think I'm just worried about how the gameplay is going to work. I'm worried it's going to be too simple, I guess, but I think it'll be fine. And one thing I will say is the Muscle Bob thing being a part of the multiplayer mode. I think that's actually a really good idea. Like he said in your conversation with him, it kind of seems redundant, I guess, when they put it into the single player mode, so it doesn't really work. And I think if that is the case, it makes sense to put it as a separate boss in a separate mode.
I thought that was a really interesting tidbit that he reviewed to me. It was probably the biggest thing, in my opinion, that I was able to get from that interview, was when Martin had reviewed that they actually tried to incorporate that boss into the single player mode. So I think they were vague in the beginning because they actually probably intended to try to incorporate some of that into the single player campaign. But this is the thing about remakes that I find to be, the question with any remake. It doesn't matter what game or franchise it is. This is something that any developer is going to run into when they approach a remake, is how much of the game are you able to change without upsetting people that love the original.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I do have thoughts on that too. With some games, I think it's probably important to stay mostly the same. I feel like the thing about a remake though is, while you are updating it to a new audience, it doesn't necessarily have to be one-to-one. I feel like you could maybe add some extra taxi cab stand somewhere in the hub world to get to that Squidward boss fight or something, or maybe hide him somewhere else, like have him be a secret fight or something. And with Patrick's dream, I don't know how that would have worked. I kept thinking about how that would have worked because they already have a dream, so it's like you're taking out something and putting something in, and I think that would be a problem. Adding in another boss, I don't think would have been a problem, but maybe taking something out from the original and putting in something new would have upset people.
This is something that I read in a comment once in one of my videos that I thought was a really good idea, and they basically suggested that it would just be a selectable level in maybe the movie theater, for instance. You would just go in there, and when you get to the movie screen, you can select look through concept art, or you could add a bunch of other things like a soundtrack menu or a video clip menu to watch cutscenes, or you can go to a cut content menu and access the new levels in that manner. So I think there were definitely ways to incorporate cut content in a single player campaign that wouldn't have infringed on the main experience. I think it was more so maybe there just wasn't time in the development, unfortunately, to do that, or maybe that would have taken a lot more. That's just what I speculate. I don't think anyone asked for a multiplayer mode, actually. That was one of the first things I commented on when this game was first announced. I was like, we're getting a multiplayer mode? Who asked for this? It wasn't a positive manner. I was like, no one asked for this, but it's so cool that they're doing it. But I thought that was in itself a very interesting option, and it's just even more interesting to see all the cut content get represented through that mode as well.
Yeah, I think it was weird that they put multiplayer in, but I think it's probably a good idea because it adds new stuff without changing the old stuff, I guess. And that's probably why they put the cut content in there, was not only to make their multiplayer mode special, but just so they wouldn't have to change anything. Maybe someone from Nickelodeon said, hey, don't change this. I don't know that that's the case, but it's just a thought. And I think the movie theater idea, that probably is a good way to do it. And there's always the chance, it's a very slim chance, but it's always possible that they could do some kind of DLC where they add it in some form to the single player, but I won't hold my breath.
I asked Martin about that, I'm pretty sure, in the interview, and it was kind of just most questions where I asked him about additions and all that, and he was like, no plans for it currently, but maybe if there's enough demand for it, or if the game does really well, then there could be. And so, you truly never know. I'm a little bit optimistic. I think this game can do well, and I really hope it opens doors to other SpongeBob games in the future. But I think it'd be really cool to see some of the cut content get brought back to the single player campaign still. But I guess I'm just satisfied that it is being acknowledged at all. When this was teased, or when people were discussing about the possibility about this remake earlier last year, a lot of us would have been perfectly fine with just a remaster or a port.
At the time, before I knew that the remake was happening, I probably would have preferred just having a port, because I remember thinking shortly before the remake got announced that, man, I wish that there was some way they could get this ported to the Switch, because I want to be able to play it wherever I go. And then it ended up happening in remake form, so I think that's pretty cool.
We've discussed certain pieces of cut content that we know are going to be in the game. Is there anything that you might have seen in that concept art that we haven't seen yet that you think would have been cool to have seen in the remake, or would be cool if they did end up including it somehow?
I want to say there's one piece of concept art in there that's a Godzilla robot fish thing.
I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I want to say that, and it's possible that it is in there and they just haven't told us, but I think that would be like a good multiplayer mode boss of some sort.
Funny enough, I don't feel like a lot of people talk about that specifically.
Yeah, I don't think
You
so
know,
either. I just was thinking about it the other day. I don't think it was you that tweeted it. Someone tweeted it, and I was just looking at it and thinking, man, maybe they'll add that.
Another thing that I really think they should have added into this game actually is costumes, because there's concept art for different costumes that
that's
SpongeBob
right.
could be wearing. And when I asked Martin about it, he said that it wasn't in the nature of the game, and I didn't think much of it when I asked him it. But then I looked back at the movie theater a little bit later, and I realized there's actually concept art for different costumes. And so I actually think that Heavy Iron probably intended to put costumes in this game, and the fact that costumes are everywhere in both the movie game and True for Square afterwards just shows me that Heavy Iron always wanted there to be costumes in their SpongeBob games. And so I think that's probably one of the main things I'd love to see, but also one of the most realistic things I could totally picture them like incorporating as like a simple DLC pack.
Yeah, I don't know what Heavy Iron maybe intended. Clearly they did do it afterwards, so that's probably what they intended. But a lot of that concept art looks like it's from early stages, so maybe they were thinking about having him just wear certain outfits in certain worlds. I don't know. But another thing I guess I'll bring up is the Glove World level that got cut at some point early in development. That would have been another good one to include that I know a lot of people had hoped for. That is not happening, but I mean, like he said in your interview, there's always the possibility that they make another game and put that in, so.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about this, and this is kind of a tease for a future discussion I have on this show. We're going to be talking about sequel ideas on another episode of this show, so definitely tune into that. We were kind of thinking about the fact that Battlefield Bikini Bottom does a really good job of covering most of the SpongeBob locations, so.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, I don't know what they would put in a sequel because they've done so much. I don't know.
Maybe that's why they wanted to say the Glove World for like a potential sequel, because from the interview it looked like they were very interested in pursuing another game with like a similar engine, so that's very exciting, but I'll save that for that particular episode. Anyway, we talked about how the cut content's being incorporated and also about some other pieces that maybe or maybe not we'll see in the future. I wanted to ask this specifically just because I had you on. Creature from the Krusty Krab, that is a fan favorite within this community. Like, I put out my review on that game, and I'll be honest, it's not one of my favorite SpongeBob games, and I definitely got an earful from a bunch of people that watched that review, which is totally fine because I understand why people are so passionate about this game.
I think some people, I mean, obviously for some people it was probably their first SpongeBob game or even their first game in general, so.
Exactly. Since you're in this process of making this huge Creature from the Krusty Krab video, talking about like some of its beginnings and the story behind it, if THQ Nordic did decide one day to announce that this game would get the rehydrated treatment, how would you like to see it done? Would you like to see a one-to-one remake? Would you like to see it completely revamped? Like, what are some of your thoughts on that?
For the console version, I actually had the DS version growing up, and I really enjoyed the DS version, so I thought I would like the console version more than I maybe did when I decided to finally play it. One thing that I noticed while playing it was in the DS version, there's more platforming with Patrick. Like, there's a whole level where you have to find the different parts of the rocket ship and put them together, and that's not in the console version, which I thought was kind of weird to me.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, if they were to remake it, I'd say make a level based around that, because it felt weird not having it in there. But other than that, I would say pretty much just make the graphics a lot better. Maybe some of the controls were kind of wonky, like playing as giant plankton, so I'd say maybe tighten that up. But otherwise, I feel like it would be a pretty straightforward remake. I don't feel like it would be too hard to do. Maybe just add some extra stuff and make it look better. But I think as a game, it's kind of linear as a game, so I don't feel like it would be that hard to do. And I could definitely see them doing it, especially with how many people do like the game.
It's not like a game that I personally would like to see remade. I personally would love to actually see the ideas of that game incorporated into a new one. You know, I would love to see them actually like go beyond the dream concept and explore other dreams besides those three, and, you know, maybe actually make the dreams like match up the characters. I mean, I guess SpongeBob's driving one kind of matched his up, but it also had just this really weird aesthetic overall that didn't make
The
a lot of
racing in
sense.
general didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Not only is it way too easy, but I just don't get why it's there to begin with. Personally, like, why is SpongeBob the one using all these vehicles for some reason? Like, I feel like that
Yeah.
almost would have made more sense for Plankton because he's so small, but I don't know.
Both like the SpongeBob Dream level and Battle for Bikini Bottom, and also just Creature from the Krusty Krab as a whole, I think there's a lot of potential of just like expanding the whole Dream concept and making that its own full-fledged game.
Well, I can't say too much about that because it's in my video, but I will say, as you already know, they had some clearly great ideas for what they initially wanted to do, and it just did not happen for whatever reason.
Without going into too much detail, it was very ambitious.
Yes.
And so I'm not surprised that that didn't come to fruition at all.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about Nickelodeon in the mid 2000s, where pretty much everything SpongeBob related was seeing like a dip in quality.
Well, even back then, they were like saying they were on the files that I showed you. They're saying that they had Atlantis Squarepants planned at the same time as they were planning this other one. So they thought they were going to do 2 games in 2 years. With that level of ambition, it just clearly could not happen.
I appreciated the ambition, but I definitely am not surprised that the game turned out the way that it did, especially in such a short time period. I think it's a miracle that Battle for Bikini Bottom turned out as good as it did, because I don't think they had a very long time period for that game at all.
Yeah, part of it's probably they were able to use the engine code from Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. And I don't know how fast they were able. I don't even know exactly when they started. I'm sure it was shortly after Big Sky released theirs that THQ had already... It may have even been before Big Sky released Revenge of the Flying Dutchman that they decided to go with Heavy Iron. But yeah, I think it's pretty incredible that the game that they ended up putting out was as good as it is, and that might also have something to do, the time limit might also have something to do with why there's so many weird things in there that speedrunners like to use.
It's kind of like the best of both worlds. Like, you have like a pretty solid game, but there's also a lot to exploit, obviously, with the speedrunning side of it.
It's like broken in a good way.
You know, it's like these are glitches that you wouldn't normally encounter, like in a normal playthrough. But if you weren't looking for them, then they're definitely there, as we've seen at this point.
Yeah. I will say one more thing about how you would remake Creature from the Krusty Krab. It might be a good idea to do both that and Atlantis Squarepants at the same time and kind of make it a double pack type of thing, almost. Just because they're both relatively simple games.
Interesting idea. Although, if I'm being completely honest, I kind of think Atlantis Squarepants in general, both the game and this episode, should just be forgotten. But that's just me.
I mean, that's fair. I'm just saying. Like, I did play Atlantis Squarepants, the console version, and I was not a fan of it, but I just feel like if you were going to do both, you would want to probably do them at the same time. But I'm like you, I wouldn't necessarily even want either remade. I think if I had my choice, I'd go with obviously like the movie game or Lights Camera Pants, something like that. And like I said the other day, I don't know how you justify doing a remake of a game for a movie like so many years after it's come out. I think the only way I would think they could justify it is by doing it at the movie's anniversary at some point.
That pretty much wraps up everything that we want to talk about. Hope you all enjoyed some of this insight into the cut content. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you all feel about the way that they incorporate the cut content? Like, do you all like what they did? Do you all wish they would have done more of the single player campaign? Let me know what other SpongeBob games you'd like to see get remade in the future, with potentially cut content getting incorporated into them as well. But do you have any last minute thoughts before we close the discussion?
Just that I know I was a little bit negative at first about the cut content, but I will say I'm very happy with the work the team's done, and I'm very excited about the game, and I can't wait for it to come out.
All right, and I will second that, definitely. And so, well, thank you so much for jumping onto here. Like I said, I think that your videos are awesome, and I really hope you all really should check out his Revenge of the Flying Dutchman video, because there is just this whole misconception that Big Sky Interactive went down because of this game, which is totally not true.
And that they hated SpongeBob and just did the project because they needed money.
No, that is definitely not true. And you know what? Definitely just watch his video, because he definitely gives a good explanation with developers directly talking about it, about about what exactly happened, and it might help you to appreciate the game a little bit more also. Like, it's actually one of my favorite SpongeBob games, contrary to what most people think, but I look forward to seeing your Creature from the Krusty Krab video come out when it does.
You gotta hit that milestone, guys. Donate what you can. Don't donate all your money, but if you can donate, be sure to do that.
But alright, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Guys, I'm exhausted. I do not have the energy to continue on any longer, but I just gotta say thank you so much for tuning in. If you watched to the very end, you are definitely an MVP, and I'm truly grateful for you. I actually made a poll earlier this week if you all like these really long videos, or if you want me to go back to dividing them up into shorter videos throughout the week, and surprisingly the majority said that you all wanted these like long videos, and that kind of makes me feel nice, because it makes me realize that you all don't mind hearing me talk endlessly for who knows how long. And so I thank you so much for your support, and I cannot wait to show you the next episode, which will be occurring during the relief. My gosh, I cannot believe the relief is so close. Get excited. Please feel free to donate if you like, and yeah, just stay tuned because I got a few more surprises. Okay, thank you so much. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe to my channel if you like videos like these, want to see more in the future. Follow me on Twitter or join my Discord server, The Spongy Garden. Special shout out to Team Robert Sign Gamer, Glitch Dolphin, Andrew Coughlin, New Gamer Hub, Abraham Muner, Maz Muner, Brooke Grillin, Dennis Jr., and my newest YouTube member, whom I cannot remember the name of. 1 second. Shara Rainfall. These are my patrons / YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member, get access to a whole bunch of different perks, then please check out the links in the description box below. But okay guys, this is Riders, riding out.